morning, everyone. Thanks again, Rebecca. And now moving swiftly on to our next lightning talk, I'm happy to present Jonathan Vila, a developer advocate at Sonar, who is talking to us about how to make the most out of conferences and communities. I would like to quickly remind everyone again to post your questions and comments in the chat and at the DevRelX Summit Slack channel. Hey, Jonathan. You're presenting, Jonathan, but we're not hearing you, if you can hear me. Sorry, everyone. We're just waiting on Jonathan to sort out the mic issues. Jonathan, it's showing as you're muted. I'm not sure if that's
my fault. Now, okay. Now you should hear me well. Do you hear me? Okay, perfect. Sorry, I was mute. I was thinking it was my device. Okay, so let's jump into the presentation directly. Well, welcome to this talk. Then I will try to share my experiences of being an engineer, an attendee, a speaker, and a conference organizer in developer community and conference, and which are the points that I think are the most important ones in order to get the most benefit out of them. So I'm Jonathan. I'm a Java champion and also very community-driven with the Java community in Barcelona, and also organizer of JVCN and DevVCN conferences. More than, so they have 8 editions with more than 1,000 attendees. And I've been a speaker in several conferences and lucky me in this DevRelX Summit. I'm also a developer for more than 30 years with several languages. And now I'm working as a developer advocate for Sonar. That's a company that provides tooling and methodologies for companies and individuals to go to clean code. So let's talk about the developers communities. My experience with those developers communities are specifically around a technology or project, basically Java, but it can also be, I don't know, Apache Kafka project. So basically around those technologies, language or a project. People in those communities are having low interest in commercial products. So every time someone tries to talk about the product, you can see their faces. So they are interested on open source solutions and things that they can try on their own at home, or even do a POC in their companies, in their projects, but not about commercial solutions. Also, they don't like newsletters about companies. They want to hear about the technologies, projects, libraries, ways to solve problems, but not about companies and products. There are other subtypes of communities that you can find. Well, basically, I found 4 definitions. Basically, one that it is the one created around the creation of a project. Apache Kafka, that's one. Apache Camel, it's another one. But also there are other communities that are around a technology, but not because they want to create that technology, but because they are interested on that technology. Other communities are around learning, but like more official approach of learning with courses, certifications, and official trainings. And another one could be like those used for companies to put their products on the market. Let's say, I don't know, Apple communities. That would be a good example. So with these communities, my experience is, well, I have this opinion about which should be the journey for everyone that tries to engage with those communities. First is to be one of them, to attend the meetups, to be present on those small events, like one of them. This is super important. It's not about pushing content. It's about the first step is to be one of them. The second is, okay, if you go to a conference, then be an attendee. Just learn which are the mechanics of a conference that are totally different than a meetup. Learn which is the questions, the topics, the way people behave in those talks. It's super important. The next step could be when you have all these ideas, then you can say, okay, I want to present in front of a meetup in a community, small gathering. It's also important because it will give you a nice perspective of what people think about the special technologies in a closed environment. And finally, well, you can decide to go to a conference and that you are going to talk to a bigger audience, but you are going to have like less interaction. It's not the same relationship that you can have in a meetup than in a conference, that you are competing with other talks and people are going from one talk to another to another. So it's a different experience, but it's also important to be there. And finally, if you want to be a company or a person that it is managing a booth, it's important to have this journey in order to understand which are the points that you need to focus on in order to deliver content, but also understanding if that content is really providing any value for those attendees. And also considering which are the things that attendees are more interested on. It's not just a car fair where you are putting a car and expecting people to come and ask for the car. It's totally different. Developers are need content in order to get attracted. So let's talk about meetups. Basically, my experience is about community-driven meetups. Nowadays, there are several companies that are creating meetups on their own. And I don't think this is the right way because they are competing between companies, and it should be better to support those meetups, those communities, and make them grow. So this is an important point. They are obviously easy to organize. I'm not saying anything that you don't know. Low budget because it's basically food and drinks for 20, 50 attendees. It's easy and in a place. Basically, you are going to have local speakers and local attendees. That should be the perfect solution, considering the local language and the local culture, not just simply a space where you are putting a speaker from another country and another language. If you can use their own language and their own culture, they will have a better experience. Nowadays, meetups are struggling with remote work because you don't know in which day people are going to the office, if they go to the office. Therefore, some days people are staying at home and other days other people are staying at home. So it's hard to make them be at the same day in the office. Therefore, if someone needs to go from home to a meetup, this is making harder to get more people. So now the audience is a bit low compared to before pandemic. Then meetups have the no-show effect. So you can have 100 people registered, but then only 35 attend. In our case, we have solved this with a refundable fee. So we charge €2 to register, but then for those that come, we return back the money. And this is giving us a 95% of attendance. This is a special place for speakers that want to start on this journey of talking with a small audience, with doing pair talks with other more experienced speakers. This is definitely the best place to start and to get confident about giving talks. You are going to find people with high motivation because they are there exclusively for that talk. Your talk is not competing with others, so they are there because they are interested in the topic. Therefore, use that high motivation. And it's easy because usually meetups don't have call for papers, so it's just a matter of contacting them and arranging a date. And they don't want product speeches. At least most of the meetups that I know, they reject product speeches. Conferences. I know that there are like two types of conferences, community ones and businesses ones, and they are very different. Some with paid slots and others without paid slots, where you need to, and though you are a sponsor, you need to compete with the call for papers to have a to have a talk. Conferences are struggling with the sponsorships because now companies are not so happy to invest, and if they invest, they are investing less. Also, conferences are suffering from companies not allowing DevRel's travel and expenses for conferences. But you can consider that in your favor if you have budget, because your DevRels are going to compete with DevRels in the conference. Also, now conferences are having massive submissions in the call for papers. We received more than 900, but not all the conferences are waiting until they have everything in order to approve. So it's better if you submit early, and then you have more chances to be approved. They are suffering also from increased price in everything, but they have like this important part that is the human interaction, but it's a space that you need to use it. So conferences are giving you a space to interact with people, but don't expect people just come to you and ask you. You can use this human interaction proactively. It's a great place to start new collaborations because you have other sponsors in the same conference that you can have collaborations with them, having talks together, even having a talk referring another technology from another company, and this is a win-win for both. Definitely is a good point to consider. And if you believe in them, you can collect lots of leads. So being an attendee means that it will increase the community membership because you are going to be a known face. It's a perfect place to be a ghost speaker because in the networking time, you can just talk to other speakers, to other attendees, and the same technology, or even introduce your technology. So that's a good place. Also allow direct communication with organizers. It's important to communicate with organizers in order to have meetups in the future. You can pulse the community and how do they think and which are the things that they are interested on. You are going to learn tech and presentation skills because you are attending presentations. It will help you in order to adjust the presentations if you find something that can make your presentation better. And in order to speak at events, okay, the first important part is that it's not about you, what do you want to tell. It's about them, the audience, and what they are interested on. Not simply go there and talk and expect that they are going to listen to you. Also, use the demographics, language. You can use their language in order to introduce you, the role level that you can get from the conference, cultural affinities in order to make your presentation better. Also, send early your call for paper, not talk about products, real experiences, people-focused talk instead of also only technology talks, and be clear and specific. And in your abstract, check the tracks that the conference is having and talk with organizers. This is important. And having travel and expenses covered. AI can help you in order to generate your first draft for your talk, images, talk, and abstract. Important is the presentation skills, voice, eye contact, body language, tone are important. You need to put focus on that. Silences, Boolean questions to engage people, asking you are in favor of this or that, and they would raise their hands, walk through the stage and look to the audience. Slide designs, it's easy, not put too much text because people will not read it. And remember that one thing is what you want to say, and another thing is what they are going to remember from your presentation. So put focus on what you put in your presentation. In your slides, it's important to have interaction. So put QRs to your slides and to get feedback. And use the hallway track that is super important to talk with attendees and speakers and organizers. It's super important to use the hallway track because, as I say, the most important part of a conference is what is not recorded, the hallway track. Talks are always online. Meet the organizers, be familiar. This will help you to be approved in the future editions. Also, mentor internally. And in order to encourage engineers to attend talks, to speak at events, it's important to have an internal strategy about this. And sponsoring an event, you need to plan with a lot of time, knowing your audience. It's not only about booth size. You need to be proactive, giving content, and have the right people in the booth in terms of quantity and role. Conclusions, well, basically community is something that you belong to, but not that something that you own. It's about personal interaction. Content is important, but the presentation skills are the key in order to deliver the message. AI can help you on the first step of creating content. It's not about, it's about the audience, and it's important to be an attendee. And I think
Thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure and very interesting. Now, let's make the most of the DevRelX Slack channel to continue this discussion. Link in the chat. Thanks again, Jonathan.